What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of JBC Podcast. This will be episode 2, talking about the NFL. I am your host, Chris. I'm joining along here with Brody.
What's going on?
I'm also joined with Jacob.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
All right, we have a long night ahead to talk about the matchups tonight. The Chiefs and Broncos are currently playing, and we're going to get some thoughts about the season so far. How are y'all doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Oh, not too shabby. Not too shabby at all.
Oh, yeah. Right now, the Chiefs game is playing. Chiefs are winning 27-6. I got a couple notes that I got from the game so far. I just want to know y'all's opinion. Maybe y'all had a couple notes, but what do you think? Patrick Mahomes getting hurt. How do you think they're gonna be doing if he's out longer than what they expect him to be?
I'll let you take that one, Brody.
All right, bro, you can go first.
All right. Well, obviously, Mahomes is probably their best player on the entire team. I mean, compared to who else? Tyreek Hill. I mean,
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is a big part of their team too. But without Patrick Mahomes, that team is going to lose some games that they probably should not lose in the upcoming schedule. Um,
Okay.
for sure. And plus, I mean, he was having a really good season, just like he was last year. Maybe not as good, but he's still in the MVP race. I think right now he's projected second
Yeah,
in
Okay.
the
he's
MVP
behind
race.
Russell Wilson.
Okay.
hmm
But that's it at the moment that I can think of.
Yeah.
Um,
Patrick Mahomes suffered a kneecap dislocation. There was no break, so the MRI will reveal if there is any ligament damage. So he might not be out that long. So
Well, I mean, I guess
yeah,
that's a relief.
yeah,
they're gonna they're gonna need him. Otherwise, that's gonna seriously affect their playoff projections moving forward.
okay. What about you, Jacob? You have anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Patrick Mahomes is one of a kind talent. He's kind of like, I mean, if you put it in like the NBA terms, he's kind of like a Zion Williamson. I mean, he wasn't as hyped coming into the NFL, but just
No, he
like
was not.
what he could do on the field, just like what Zion could do on the court, it's almost unmatched. I mean, it's crazy to watch. Um, but their next two games, they're at home, but I mean, they got the Packers next week, and then they play the Vikings. So those are two big games, especially if they're going to be without Patrick Mahomes. Just because they lost a couple silly games, they got beat by the Colts, and then
Yeah,
they lost to the Texans last week. So they've already dropped two games. And if Patrick Mahomes can't, if he can't play next week or for a couple weeks, and they drop one or two more games, that's
yeah,
gonna hurt. Especially when you're playing. You got the Patriots, Texans, Raiders, Bills, Ravens. I mean, it's tough, and I mean, like Brody said, Tyreek Hill, great player. Travis Kelsey, great player. But they can't do anything if they don't have anybody,
yeah.
to get the ball to them. So I
Yeah.
think we're just gonna have to sit back and hope that it's just gonna be a day-to-day thing. Maybe he can,
You think
you
they're
know,
gonna? You think they might bench him if the backup quarterback keeps doing all right, pretty good?
no,
You don't
No,
think so?
no
no,
chance.
no
Yeah.
chance. It's. I mean, it's not gonna be like Cam Newton. You
Okay.
can't bench Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. And also the other thing that I kind of want to note in y'all's opinion was Kansas City's defense has not been looking great as of tonight. Cortland Sutton is doing pretty good, but Broncos don't have the best offense. But do you think Kansas defense can hold up the rest of the season? Maybe pull through and win it all. Jacob, you
Win
can
it,
start with this one.
win it all, as in like.
Like going all the way to the playoffs, maybe winning the divisional.
Um, I mean, the Raiders have been down as of the past few years since Peyton Manning left, but I mean they're still solid. Their defense is still
I mean the
incredible.
Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos. They're still incredible, but so I mean, I don't know because I mean I'm looking at their schedule. They they play a lot of teams that have either high-powered offenses or high-powered, run game.
Decent,
Like
yeah.
they play at the Patriots, at the Bears. They got to play the Chargers twice, the Vikings and
Oh,
Packers. Um,
yeah, that's gonna be
but the
hard.
big thing that
One.
was exposed was that their run defense was lacking. And I mean, this game they've showed that they could stop the run, but can they stop Aaron Jones?
Yeah,
Um, can they stop Dalvin Cook? Can they stop
Tom
Henry?
Brady and all that. Yeah,
Yeah. So
they have tough
I
some. They have some tough road games.
I guess we'll just have to see how they'll adapt. I mean, not having Patrick Mahomes, I think even though that he's on the offensive side, I think that'll change their the way they play defense because they're so used to putting up 30 plus points a night that their defense can kind of not necessarily like slack off, but they don't have as much pressure. But now that they don't have their playmaker, or if they have to continue without their playmaker, their defense may have to take a different approach to the game, and it may wind out tiring them out. So I guess we'll just have to see.
All right, Brady, what's your take on there?
Everything that Jacob said was pretty much right, and what I was more focused on was the people that are in their division, the teams that are in their division. You
Hmm.
got Kansas City, Oakland, Denver, and the Chargers.
Hmm.
Yep.
The only one of those teams that could possibly beat them out is Oakland, because I honestly don't know how well Oakland's going to do for the remainder of the season.
Okay, I like that idea. Yeah.
So that might just be if the Raiders are Raiders of old and just don't do anything during the rest of the season, that could be like a gimme for Kansas City
Yeah.
to win their division.
Okay. Yeah, they don't have that much tough teams. My take is Patrick Mahomes getting hurt. I think you let this backup quarterback. If he somehow can pull out a win next week, you can rest him and get him 100% again. But if it's coming down close, I guess it depends on the Raiders. What are they? Are they tied with them, or are they a game behind?
Well, they had a bye week, so they're
Oh,
technically sitting at 3-2. I
they
think
play
Chiefs are
this
four
week.
and
You
two.
said last week was their bye
Yeah,
week. Okay, so I think if they lose, I think you sit out Patrick Mahomes next game because you're already still ahead in your division. But I mean, it's really up to Andy Reid. But I think their defense, going against a high-powered offense, is going to be one I can't wait to see. We saw them against Houston, and Houston, pulled out the win, and so that's going to be if they fix up that defense, I think they can be good, but I don't know. We'll see about that. But let's get to the good and bad performances this week. We can do teamwork player. Birdie, we'll start with you. What's all your good performances and underperformance?
Uh, so I'll start with teams that I have. Two teams that I have that have performed well this season have been the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers.
I think we all can agree on those. That's
Yeah. Um, the 49ers, I mean, are the only other undefeated team besides the Patriots, so I think that speaks pretty highly of the 49ers and what they've been able to do with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. And also their very, very stout defense with Richard Sherman and some of those other guys as well performing
hmm
every
yeah,
every weekend.
yeah. They look pretty good.
And the the Bills have looked really, really good too in all their past weeks
Yeah, they haven't been good
against.
for a while. Now
Yeah,
they looking good, but
I
I don't
mean,
think they have really been that good since like Tyrod Taylor, because Tyrod Taylor was
uh,
made them pretty good.
Oh yeah,
But
I miss Tyrod days.
but I mean, you could also argue that they haven't really played that great a competition, but still, to me, I mean, they're winning games. I mean,
Yeah,
you've still got to win games to prove.
yeah,
I mean, okay, well, you're not the worst of the worst or anything like that. You're not a Cincinnati or a Miami.
right.
But I mean,
facts.
they only lost by 6 to the Patriots.
That
Yeah,
was a defensive showdown.
Yeah.
yeah. I think Tom Brady might have had a bad game too, but I don't know. It's that defense for Buffalo definitely did show that
Hmm.
they they're good.
And then I'll go ahead and move on to my players that have kind of stood out with their performance so far this year. Uh, two players that I have are Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
I'll start with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers' stats so far this season, he has thrown for 1,590 yards, 8 TDs, and 2 picks, with a rating of 92.8. Now, his QBR, his adjusted QBR is a 51.2.
Okay.
And that number, um, according to past years, is uh, quite a bit lower than last year. However, it seems as though he's always making the right plays
Yeah.
every game. Every time late in games, he always comes up clutch and gets wins. We've only lost one game this year. And I
Um.
believe a big part of that is Aaron Rodgers and also using Aaron Jones more in the receiving game this year as well.
Yeah,
That's helped them
he's
out a
been
lot.
doing good. Yeah, I remember. I love Green Bay when they used to have Greg Jennings and Randall Cobb.
Hmm.
They were, yeah, that
Dominant.
was, yeah, definitely Randall Cobb in his prime time.
Yeah.
Um, then my other player that I have Lamar Jackson. His stats so far this year: passing, he has a 65.1 completion percentage. He's thrown for 1,507 yards. He has 11 touchdowns and 5 picks. His rating is a 96.7, and his QBR is a 64. And he's also rushed the ball for 460 yards, and he's averaging 6.7 yards per carry, and he has 2 touchdowns. And he was really surprising to me because last year he he didn't really do that great. He threw for 6 TDs and 3 picks.
No, but he did lead them
Whenever
to a divisional championship.
that is true,
Something Joe
and
Flacco didn't.
he might lead me even further this year.
Yeah,
It's very possible.
they did just get Marcus Peters.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a good thing on the defense.
Mhm. Um. Let's see.
Who's
Uh,
your underperformers?
uh, underperformers. So team wise, I have the Browns and the Chargers.
Okay.
I'll
What?
start with the Chargers.
All
The
right.
Chargers are currently sitting at 2-4, and you have Philip Rivers as your quarterback,
Jeez.
surrounded by great talent.
Yeah.
You've got Keenan Allen at receiver, who's one of the best in the NFL.
Right.
Facts.
But I guess you could also argue that, well, maybe their defense hasn't played well this year and all this, but still, if Philip Rivers is my quarterback, you should be at least in contention every single game to win,
Yeah.
I
Facts.
believe. But he hasn't really had that great of a year either.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
And
Might be getting
then,
up in age.
yeah, might be he's no Tom Brady, that's for sure.
No. There's not a lot like Tom Brady.
No.
One in a lifetime.
Uh, then the other team that I had, which I feel as though all of us probably wrote down or wanted to discuss, is the Cleveland Browns. And the only underperformer that I had was Baker Mayfield. So
Yeah. Ooh.
those two kind of tie together. Um, I just feel as though Baker is holding the entire team down right now.
Yeah. I can see
That's
that.
just how I feel. Just because he's got two highly explosive players at receiver. which I'm not taking away from Nick Chubb being a great running back, but those guys need to get the ball a lot more.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb has 8 touchdowns. Between Jarvis Landry and Odell, they only have one, and Odell's got it. That's
Jeez.
it.
Yeah.
These guys need to get the ball in their hands and score.
Yeah, that's true. That's yeah. That one game we only had like I don't even think I had over 5 completions for like 20 something. That's pitiful. I
I
mean,
mean,
you
do they need to show him like the LSU highlight tapes of back when OBJ and Jarvis were there? Like, does he know what they can do?
well, I mean, they could show him because they didn't
I
have a
mean,
good
for real.
quarterback and they still produced. I just
I know.
Currently, he's thrown for 1,496 yards, 5 TDs, and 11 picks.
Yeah, those need to be swapped.
he's just not a smart.
Oh.
I don't think he's a smart quarterback in my opinion. I
Too
just
busy
think
making them commercials.
Yeah, he
It's my hot take.
he played well the first season, so he could get all of his endorsements, and then now he's just gonna coast.
yeah,
Hey, secure the bag, man. Secure the bag like
Yeah.
Brock Osweiler.
yeah, facts.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, do you want to get into your good bad performance?
Yeah. I I was gonna agree with the Chargers. I mean, just to go off that, since that was like kind of like closer to the last thing that you said, their defense actually. I was looking at their scores. I mean, they beat the Colts. The Colts have been good, but their defense has only been giving up 10, 10, 27 to the Texans. But that's a good offense. 24 to the Steelers and 20 to the Broncos. So I mean, like their defense is solid. It's their offense. They've only been putting up 10 points a game, 20 points a game, 17, 13. Like so, I think it is. They're just struggling offensively. The 49ers were a surprise. I mean, last year Jimmy gets hurt, Jerick McKinnon gets hurt, so you don't really get to see their full potential. But then being at 5-0 and their defense last week when they played the Rams, we were like, are they legit? And they held the Rams' explosive offense to 7 points, and that's pretty hard to do. Now the Rams are also one of my teams that have been more on the disappointing side. They're sitting at a solid 500, even. Jared Goff has been okay. Todd Gurley, it's almost like he's fallen off the earth.
Oh yeah,
Like he's still producing
Mhm.
touchdowns, like fantasy points wise, but like his
He's not.
production is just down the drain. And I would know because I have him on my fantasy team. But he's just been averaging, like 50. I don't think he's topped 50 yards in the past couple of games. I mean, he's gotten like two rushing touchdowns, but other than that, I mean, the Rams' offense has just been stifled. They haven't really been that explosive, 35 plus point per game team that they were last year. So and then of course the Broncos are very disappointing this year. Of course, I mean you can't put it all on the Broncos. I mean a lot of it
No.
was hype that the media gave them, and there's not a whole lot that they can do about that. But they have been underperforming. And I would probably have to say I don't know. Steelers is one, but that again is also due to injury.
yeah,
Because Big Ben and Mason Rudolph both go down. But I mean, it's still a factor, so I still would say it's disappointing, even though it's an injury. It's injury related because you could say the same thing about Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose, I mean, was incredible until he got hurt, and so now his career has kind of been shadowed by his knee injuries. So I mean, they've been disappointing. And then I would have to say my last team that has been disappointing, and this is going to go as biased as the Cowboys.
not really biased.
I mean, they're okay. So 3-3, they start out. Everybody's hyping them. Which I mean, they played the Redskins, the Dolphins, and the Giants. So like the 3 worst teams in the NFL. And so I mean, yay. But then they play, somewhat good competition. They play the Saints, which the Saints is always a good game. Even if Drew Brees is out, it's still always a good game. And it was I mean, they held that offense to 4 field goals. So their defense played good. Their offense wasn't
Yeah, the
productive.
Saints defense
And
showed up that night.
yeah, and then the Packers, they kind of got stopped. They had to kind of try to come back, but they didn't. The Packers kind of shut them down, and so then you're thinking 3-2. That's fine because the Packers and the Saints, they're both good teams. And then they play the 0-4 Jets. And I believe Sam Darnold played that game because I'm pretty sure he threw for like 2-3 touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah, I think he did play
And I
that
mean,
game.
we got absolutely smoked. So at that point, it's kind of starting to turn me into, not necessarily panic, but you're just like, oh, okay, so we actually aren't as good as we were projected to be. And okay, so this is my hot take. Everybody hates, I don't know about hates Dak Prescott, but they just don't think he's the answer. I think Dak Prescott is a young Tony Romo.
You don't think he can
And
pull off playoff games?
here's why. I mean, yes, he won a playoff game last year, but here's why. Because everybody's saying he's having a bad year. Well, he's third in passing yards. He's completed 70%. He's thrown 11 touchdowns to six picks. He has a 103 QBR rating, a passing rating, and then he has an 81 QBR, which is highest in the league at the moment. So
Mhm.
stat wise,
He's
he's
good.
top quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. But when it comes down to production and those fourth quarter drives, yada yada, like to win ball games where it matters. If Zeke isn't going off, then it's hard to count on Dak to win the game. To drive down, in a fourth quarter with 2 minutes left, it's hard to count on Dak. So I mean, that's kind of what, if you look back at Tony Romo's career, he statistically he had one of the best careers as a quarterback
Yeah, he won a
across
lot
the
of
board.
regular
He was
seasons.
he was incredible. But as soon as playoff time hit, it's just like I don't know if they forgot how to play or what it was going on, but I mean um, that's just what was going on. So the Cowboys have kind of been underwhelming. Now players, I mean, it's nice to see Dalvin Cook coming back from injury, showing out, doing his thing.
Yeah.
I like Dalvin. And then I would have to say Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's kind of shut up the haters of he's a a glorified running back. He's done good. He's kind of shut up. I mean, if I'm pulling up the rushing stats as of right now, and he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's eighth as a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's is good. And then you said Cortland. Did you say Cortland Sutton as a player, Brody? I couldn't remember.
No, I just have Lamar and Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. Well, Cortland's been impressive coming out of SMU, but then another receiver is another LSU receiver, DJ Chark Jr. For the Jags. He's been shown out. I mean, he's third in receiving yards right now, with 5 touchdown grabs. Especially with Gardner, the goat Minshew throwing him the ball, throwing him the rock. He's been doing good. And then I'd have to say players that have kind of slacked. I'll just agree with since you touched on him, and I don't want to say Josh Allen since they're 4-1, but I mean he still isn't living up to that hype. Like I mean he's got a cannon of an arm, but he's thrown 5 touchdowns to 7 picks. So they ain't winning games because of him. It's that defense.
Yeah.
I mean, his QBR is a 36. So,
oh jeez.
like, I mean, just imagine, like, if this team, just imagine if this team had like Tyrod Taylor in his prime. I mean, I feel like they would be so much better. And then my last is another quarterback, and he actually got benched this week.
Jeez. Who is it?
Marcus Mariota. They're starting Ryan Tannehill over him this week.
That's gonna be interesting.
I mean, it's kind of hard. I don't know if it's more injury related because he has been injury prone. But okay, so his stats. I mean, he's 60% completion, not great. 1,200 yards. I know he's missed 1-2 games. I mean, but he's thrown 7 touchdowns to 2 picks. I mean, he's always been accurate and he can scramble. So, but he just hasn't been. He just hasn't been doing his thing as of late. So he's kind of been you know,
Yeah, he
underperforming.
hasn't
Make way
done
for
anything
the.
since he got in.
I saw a post on Instagram of there's only 3 quarterbacks in history to throw for over 15,000 yards in their first 4 seasons as starters, and it was Peyton Manning, um, Dan Marino, and Ryan Tannehill.
Right.
So so
Oh
maybe
my
the Titans
gosh.
have found a diamond in the rough, man. He's their gem. Um,
Kind
so
of like
that's
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
yeah, exactly. Fitz magic, man. He can come in for what 3 games, light it up, and then
Yeah.
basically
All right,
flush down
I'm
the
done.
drain. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
all right.
Um,
So is that everything
so
you got?
yeah, that's the big points that I got.
All right. Well, I'll do mine. Mine's kind of like not a really long list, but y'all said quite a bit. My good performers, Lamar Jackson would be number one. Brody touched on that, so I'm not really going to get into all that. I think he's the answer at Baltimore. I think it was funny how they said he should be a running back, and now he's proving everybody wrong. But then I got Teddy Bridgewater. Actually, he's they
Oh
actually
yeah,
they said he wasn't really gonna, maybe he could sneak a game here and there, like 2 games, since Drew Brees is out. Right now, he hasn't lost yet. He's been doing pretty good. He's one of my good performers. Also, I have Kyle Allen for the Panthers. I think
yeah,
he's been do. I think I think they're gonna stick with him now. Maybe if he finished out the year pretty good, I think they put Cam Newton up on the trade board and stick with Kyle
yep,
Allen.
I
So
agree.
he's 4-0, 901 yards, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's doing pretty good. I hope I didn't jinx him, but uh,
Knock on that wood.
I know. All right, my another one as a receiver is he's for the Redskins. Is Terry McLaren? I can't say his last name. I think that's how it is, McLaren or something. I think he's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
freshman, but he's been putting up a show over there with 23 receptions, 408 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And he's been out a
hmm
couple games. I think he'll be a big name coming up once they find a quarterback over there in Washington. I also have Jacoby Brissett, or I think that's how you say it.
yeah,
He's been tearing up at the Colts. The Colts thought they were lost without Andrew Luck, and he's kind of bringing it back. Like y'all don't have to be worried about him. I think Colts got a good quarterback. I mean,
yeah,
he was behind Tom Brady, wasn't he?
yeah.
Too.
Him and
Yeah.
Jimmy. That's what they were saying.
Yep.
Him and Jimmy, the or the Patriots backups, are now tearing up the league.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Colts fans, don't be down on yourself. You got it. I have the Buffaloes and 49ers as my 2 teams. Buffalo's defense is I don't know where they came from, but they're coming. And they find an offense. I think they're going to be a good team in the future.
Yeah,
49ers, last year I think they were pretty good last year, but I don't think they were as good as they are right now. But that's gonna be a good team to watch. I can't wait for them and the Patriots to play. That'll be a good game.
hmm
My underperforms is gonna be the Chiefs. I think Chiefs are kind of underperforming. Y'all kind of touched upon that. I think the Redskins. I think they have some decent running backs, decent receivers. I thought Hoskins was going to be good. He came in one game and he did absolutely shitty. So I was like, no, they ain't going to go with him. That was just crazy. They put him in one game. They didn't even give him another shot.
yeah,
I got the Falcons. I always think Falcons are a good team. This year they are not looking good. I think Matty Ice is still good. Still has the talent. They have good running backs, good receiver. They have Julio. I think they just need to click it together and get it going because they could be a good team. I got the Browns and Baker Mayfield. Brody touched up on all that, so I'm not going to get too far. And I agree with Jacob. I think the Cowboys are really underperformed. 3-0, you didn't play anybody. You're kind of overhyped. But from past years, like last year, they weren't bad at all. I don't know what got into them, something with the locker room or something, or they just don't ever want to show up again. I don't know, man. That's just weird. Cowboys, I thought were going to beat the Saints, because Saints didn't have an offense. Really, well, they had Teddy, and Teddy's not the most dominant quarterback, but he somehow pulls it off. But I think Cowboys are probably my most underperformed team. Yeah, so that's everything I got on those.
I've got one player to add for good performers.
Oh yeah, well, who is it, Brody?
I can't believe we missed him.
Who?
Chris Godwin, Tampa
Oh
Bay.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
We all missed him, and I was
We
like,
also missed
what?
the oh my gosh, the Jaguars quarterback.
Gardner.
Gardner.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying, bro.
I
Gardner's a
know
goat
we didn't put
Minshew.
him on, but yeah, that's
Yeah. Chris Godwin's currently leading in fantasy numbers for receivers. He's the number one fantasy receiver
yeah. I
with
couldn't. I forgot that.
662 yards, 43 receptions, and 6 touchdowns.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man, if they could find a solid quarterback, like Jameis Winston's a good NFL quarterback. He's not great.
I mean,
If
he's
he
good
can,
enough. He's like a
he's thrown
Phillips
12
River.
touchdowns to 10 picks. I mean, it's he's just sloppy with the ball.
Yeah. What
That's
else?
where what gets him.
I mean, he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Like, we're good when it's
Two
crazy.
great receivers.
He's like it's kind of like Baker. At least he's doing better than Baker. I mean, Baker has two two young best receivers in the league right now. I mean, well, they're
Yeah.
really explosive. If you throw them the ball, they're going to make a play. But
Yeah.
yeah, all
That's why I
right.
think like
You know what?
at the Falcons. I mean, I think it's more defensive because I mean Matt Ryan's second
Yeah, Matt
in
Ryan.
passing yards. He's thrown 15 TDs, which I think leads the league at the moment. He has 102.7 rating. I mean, he's got Julio, Calvin Ridley, Austin Hooper. I think their offense is putting up good numbers
That's
from
just
what I
their
can
defense,
see.
yeah.
It's their defense. Like they put up 33 against the Cardinals last week, but they also gave up 34. They put up 32 against the Texans, but also gave up 52. So I mean, Matt Ryan and Julio, it's the offense is still explosive. They just their defense sounds like it is non-existent.
Yeah. Also on the Steelers touch-up that y'all said, I was thinking James Conner. I think he's kind of underperforming what he did, but I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt. They don't have a passing offense, so he can't really run as good. I think you
Yeah,
put that
that's
passing
tough.
offense, I think the Steelers come out dominant on offense again. Because they did
Yeah,
have
it's-
Juju. Juju's good, and they have some other good receivers, but it kind of
Yeah, it's hard when you have no passing game, and I mean, plus people also I think forget how good Teddy Bridgewater was back in the day. Like back in his prime.
Yeah,
I know
but
he's so
then he got
young,
hurt, and
at
then
the
it kinda-
Vikings. Yeah, I mean he was an incredible quarterback.
Yeah.
Just kind of had to change his game, but yeah,
Yeah. All right, so let's get in. I want to hear y'all's take on the Antonio Brown. We'll start with him on his stuff. When he first 2019, he did sign a contract for $30 million with the Raiders. He first started off with issues. He didn't show up to practice. He got fined, and I remember he made a big scene about it because he was saying like you got to find people for the same things. But obviously you miss practice, you're gonna get fined. And he also threatened to punch the GM, which is kind of a big no-no. But I think Antonio Brown might have been on drugs, but that's But then Antonio Brown did have the helmet issue, and they said that the helmet he uses is not allowed, and he got really upset. But then he found a helmet, so we all thought maybe he's gonna be ready. But then it comes big issues. Boom, he gets traded. He gets traded to the Patriots for $15 million. Well, he signs with the Patriots. I think he got cut from the Raiders, right?
yeah, he got cut.
Yeah, he got cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got cut from the Raiders, and then he went to the Patriots, signed a $50 million contract, so half the other contract, plays one game and gets cut because some girl came forward and said that he raped her, and I think another girl came too. I think there was like multiple. But I'm gonna give my take first, but I'm more into like $30 million. I think he was more. I think he was planning to try to get cut from the Raiders just so he can go play, with a different team. Try to get on with the Patriots because we saw this with who had the drama back in the day. Who was a really good receiver that went to the Patriots. Oh, what's his name? I don't know. If y'all know, just
Receiver?
put it in the comment. Yeah, he was a receiver. He was with the Raiders. He had a lot of trouble and went to the NFL or went to the Patriots.
I can't remember.
Oh my gosh!
It wasn't Randy Moss, was it?
It might have been Randy Moss. It might
He
be.
must have drama.
Some receiver at the Raiders. Can someone look that up while I'm talking real quick? But But I think Antonio Brown kind of planned it. I think he went to practice and was like, "Well, we're not going to be that good." Which the Raiders are actually surprisingly pretty good. They find a way to win, but I don't know. I think he planned it. So it's kind of. What's y'all's take on it? We'll start with you, Jacob.
I mean, I honestly think I know people joke about this. Well, when he got obliterated by Vontez Perfect against the Bengals, and he got knocked out, and like got a concussion. I still think he's honestly suffering from some brain damage. Like seriously, like mental health. I
Like
mean,
the CTE stuff or whatever.
I just don't think you go from being one of the best, if not the best receiver in the league, and just throwing it all down the toilet if something's not actually wrong. Like I think he needs like professional help because he went to Buffalo. I don't even know if he actually signed the contract to Buffalo, but he went to Buffalo and then immediately went to the Raiders and then had
Yeah.
all of that drama, threatened to retire because of a helmet, and
Yeah.
then found one, and then he's good again. Then he threatens to punch the GM, and then they make up. He was going to get fined, but then they make up, and then there's no fine, and he's supposed to play, and
He
then
does
he
play
gets
that
traded
one.
to the Patriots.
Yep. And then he goes plays
Like,
one game and gets dropped.
and that's because of the
Yeah.
rape allegations. So I mean, I think all of these, in which I haven't read up a whole lot on those rape allegations, simply because all I've seen is that there was consent, and that this chick is just doing it for
The money.
publicity. Yeah, and so I think if it's hard to judge on that, but I think if there's proven fact that they're just doing this for publicity or money or whatever, that they should do the time or maybe at least half the time that the guy would have done, because that's ruining people's career. Like if you go back to the Baylor days, Sean Oakman,
Oh
his
yeah.
career was ruined by that, literally ruined. Like he was going to be a top draft pick. That came out in like 2015, 2016, and he'll never see the NFL because of that. And he was proven innocent. But like back to Antonio Brown, I, I mean, you got to feel for the guy, even though if he is a baby. I mean, I think he does, handle a lot of situations poorly, but his talent's unmatched.
Yeah.
So I think if after these allegations, I think after that's all settled, I think if he can get some serious professional help, um, I wouldn't be surprised if he were to come back for a couple more years. I mean, he is getting older, so I don't think he's got 5 years left. But I mean, a team would still be
Yeah.
thrilled to have a Antonio Brown like talent on their team. Um,
Yeah, like a veteran to give him
yeah,
guys experience.
exactly. So I mean, I think he just needs to find the right environment.
I just say he's a crybaby.
No,
Because
I agree.
with him, with the Steelers, talking trash to Juju and then talking trash to, Big Ben. I don't know, dude. I don't even.
Well, see, that's why I
I
think he
wouldn't even
actually has
sign that
mental
team.
problems. I think I'm serious. I think he actually, a lot of people just call him a crybaby, and I mean, I agree. His actions have proven that. I actually think he has mental health issues. Like, I think he's suffering from something. Like, I honestly think that he needs to, seek out professional help. Because I mean, if you think about it, like we don't have to deal with 99% of what NFL players have to deal with the social media. With they have to watch everything that they do. They get backlash for every little thing. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to, you know, justify what he's done by any means. I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah.
you got to be apathetic. Have a little bit of empathy for the guy. But
Yeah.
again, it is what it is.
Yeah. We just don't know until he does. All right, Brody. What's your take on it?
I'm pretty much in the same boat as Jacob described. I mean, that dude needs some help. I don't I don't know why you would be a top receiver in the league and then just throw it all away in one
Throw 40
season.
mil in the garbage can.
Yeah,
Well.
Crazy.
Yeah. Like.
throw it all away. Throw all that money away. And plus, even more, if you did good that year,
Yeah.
whatever team you went with.
Yeah. And then he's
Getting
so.
dropped by Nike. He got dropped by Nike. That's
Mhm.
a huge, huge thing.
Yeah, that is huge. But I don't know. I mean, he's on Twitter and saying like, I'm gonna get my money and all this. But dude probably already has millions and millions of dollars, and I wouldn't pay him. I mean, you played one game. I might pay you for that one game, but I'm not gonna pay you 15 million. But there could be something in the contract where they don't have to pay him. But then there is something where they do have to pay him. I guess they're
Well, he
selling
went
that
from
right
like 30 million guaranteed with the Raiders
to
to
half
nothing,
that.
and then he went 15 million guaranteed with the Patriots to none of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
crazy.
mean,
You know what else is
yeah,
crazy? The
what?
Jalen Ramsey and Marcus Peters trade.
Yeah,
The
yeah, that was
Rams.
kind of it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what happened with this. The Rams traded Marcus Peters to the Ravens for linebacker Kenny Young and 2020 fifth round pick. Then the Rams traded a 2020 first round pick, a 2021 first round pick, and a 2021 fourth round pick for Jalen Ramsey. Do you think? I feel like like we said earlier, they got rid of Marcus to get some space and with to a cap space to get Jalen more stuff. Or what do you feel about that? Do you feel like it was a good trade for the Rams, or do you feel like maybe it wasn't that good of a trade? I mean, I guess you got to compare Marcus Peters to Jalen Ramsey. But what's y'all's take on it, Brody? We'll start with you.
Well, I'll start with the Jalen Ramsey trade. I mean, Jalen Ramsey going to the Rams is a big deal because the Rams already have a pretty good defense. I mean, you've got Aaron Donald, Aqib Talib, just to name, a few people on that defense. And that is a stout defense to begin with, which the record doesn't show it, but that defense should be winning more games than just a 3-3 record.
Yeah.
But with Jalen Ramsey on that team, it that should help improve their game a lot more. Now there was a lot of controversy around that trade with him starting to fight with the team and everything. I don't exactly remember what happened.
It was for Jalen. I'm pretty sure if it was right. Jalen wanted to play man to man defense, but the defense coordinator didn't want that. They wanted, I guess, play zone, and I think Jalen just got upset about that. That's what I think I read. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I
You
remember
talking about
reading
with the
that.
Jags?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
because he wanted to play man to man, and they weren't allowing him to. Which I understand as a DB, that could be frustrating because you have the talent to play man to man and get and you can possibly get pressure on the quarterback instead of sitting like 3 or 4. And that could kind of get frustrating.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. This makes me think that this isn't the first time this has happened with him on the Jaguars. Because why would he just go out of the blue on this one time and
Yeah,
do that?
you're
And
right. It
say,
could be something off field and just or something previous in practice, and it just could have
yeah.
pulled him up or someone could have set him off.
Hmm.
You're right. All right,
I mean,
Jacob. Let's hear your thoughts.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to be like he's probably one of the. I put him top 3 cornerbacks in the league, no doubt. And
Hmm.
it's frustrating when your team's not very good. Um, so I can see that. But yeah. I mean, honestly, Marcus Peters is underrated. I think. I mean, he's a heck of a cornerback, but Jalen Ramsey is younger and
True.
a little bit cheaper,
True.
so that does help. And then, of course, they had to keep Talib, but he got placed on IR, so um, that definitely helps. Now, I think 2 first rounds and a fourth. Um, I know Jalen Ramsey's incredible, but
He ain't worth that.
I think that's I think that's a little too much, just in my opinion. I mean, I know the Jags, in order to trade Jalen, because they're not very good, they'd want a lot. I mean, I think a first and a second would have suited
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, that
a
makes
little bit
sense.
more than 2 first round picks because I saw something today where the Rams now won't have a first round pick for the past 5 years, or a 5 year span.
Really?
They didn't have it the last 2 years this year, and they won't have their next two. So their next first round pick will be in 2022 if they don't trade that away.
Well,
Um,
well, we can say that the Rams are pretty young. I mean, they
well,
have some young talent, so I don't
that's
think.
what I was going to say. I don't think they. I don't. The reason I think the Rams still won this trade is because they don't need those first round picks. I mean, at running back, um, they have Todd Gurley, who's a young superstar, and then they have Daryl Henderson, who's a rookie this year. So they're good at running back. Jared Goff's young. Their receivers are, all relatively young. Um, their tight ends, Higbee, they're all young. Their offensive line, they just signed two. I think they're center and right guard or left guard. They just signed at the beginning of the year. I mean, their whole team's young. Their defense is getting younger. They do have some old pieces, but like Aaron Donald, absolute superstar. They have Dante Fowler Jr., who they also got from the Jags, which is another funny thing. Blake Bortles, um, Dante Fowler Jr., and Jalen Ramsey were all drafted in the first round the past 3 years by the Jaguars, and now they're all three on the Rams, um, which is kind of funny, I think. Um,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I still think the Rams won this trade. Getting Jalen Ramsey's nice. And the trading away Marcus Peters for a linebacker, that was, I mean, I don't know if they could have gotten, a better inside linebacker, but Clay Matthews is hurt, so they definitely needed
Yeah, Clay
to pick up
Matthews also
somebody else.
old.
I forgot about
Yeah,
him.
he's
That's
getting
who I
old.
should have said.
Yeah, he's he's been hurt, so
So
it's been
that
hard to
might be
judge his
why their
season.
defense isn't performing.
He is
Yeah,
a
and
veteran.
they haven't necessarily found that second pass rush outside of Aaron Donald, because I've seen clips of people are talking about, Aaron Donald hasn't been doing his thing this year. Well, there's been clip after clip of him getting double and triple teamed constantly because they don't have anybody else that can rush the passer. Like last year, they had McDonald and Sue, who kind of underperformed, but he was still, a presence. Like, you couldn't just triple team Aaron Donald because you had Sue. Well, this year, it's a different story. So, I mean, we'll have to see how the team drama with Jalen works out, because I mean I was watching his clips, and he's a talker, man. He'll get out there and he's got the stuff to back up his talk, but sometimes you just got to keep your mouth shut and let your game do the talking, because if he gets suspended for his something stupid, or if he gets in a fight with his teammates and gets cut or suspended or whatever for something stupid, then
Yeah.
then it's just going to be another Antonio Brown scenario all over again, and
They don't
that's the
want
last thing Jalen and the Rams want. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's pretty much the gist right there.
Yeah, I was kind of watching, the little after show of the game, and they're showing some, like, I guess some hype video for another game. But you know what else we forgot on the good performance? We forgot Christian McCaffrey.
See, okay, I wanted to include him, um, but he's always been like hyped. Now, I will say this year I mean, absolutely destroying the game. I mean, he's posed to crush his own record-setting season of total like scrimmage yards. But like last year, he was incredible. Um, but I guess you could put him in that category, and which also ironically brings up an underperformer. And this may be a surprise, but Alvin Kamara.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
100%. Well, okay, we can give him the benefit of doubt, though.
right.
You have Teddy, who they're not going to sit there and, put the cornerbacks and linebackers back, because, Teddy really hasn't had a game where, I guess one game, but he hasn't had, like, games of deep passes, so they're not going to play a deep pass for him. But, I
I
mean,
agree.
he has underperformed, but every game kind of when I watch, he does still kind of get some yards, not as much. But I think when Drew Brees comes back, I think he clicks back in, but
It may be more of like what the Saints are doing with him too, because I did pull up the stats. He is averaging about 5 yards per carry. So I mean,
it's just,
that's a
yeah.
first down every other carry. He only has 350 yards rushing. So
Yeah, it's
and
just.
it's out of the backfield. That was a big factor. Like Christian McCaffrey last year, they're versatile. But this year, since Drew Brees is hurt, they haven't really used him in the passing game as much.
Yeah,
So
it's just
that does
hard.
kind of hurt his. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, but yeah, he has underperformed, but he's still done about. I still say he's done decent. He hasn't
Yeah.
done that AK stuff, but you're
It's
gonna
the
get.
same of Patrick Mahomes. Like he's still leading and passing and putting up a stellar season, but because he's not making these Houdini throws and
Yeah.
Houdini plays and passing for 8 touchdowns a game, people are saying, "What's wrong with Patrick Mahomes?"
Yeah, it's also kind of like the whole Dak Prescott issue when Elliott was out.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott couldn't do anything because they had no running game. But I mean, I don't know. I agree. Alvin Kamara has done a little slightly not as good, but you put Drew Brees back there, I still think he would be doing a lot better.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's get in the standings. I want to hear y'all's thoughts about all these. So the standings of the NFC, you have the Cowboys and Eagles are tied at 3-3. So I have that there. You have the Packers who are leading the North at 5-1. The South Saints are leading 5-1, and then the West 49ers are leading 5-0. Okay. Now the AFC, the East, you have the Pats who are 6-0. The North Ravens are 4-2. The South Texans are 4-2, and the West Chiefs are 4-2. Do y'all think
Five
that's?
and two after tonight.
Oh yeah, 5-2. My bad, 5-2 right now. Do y'all have y'all Jacob? Do you think they're gonna stay? Is that gonna like stay like that, or do you think a team's gonna sneak up and jump out from behind?
Okay, so I'll start with the AFC. I think Patriots are lock for the
Hmm.
number one seed. I don't think anybody's going to contest them, especially if Patrick Mahomes is going to be hurt for the
Yeah,
majority of the season. I think. I mean, honestly, outside of I think the Pats are going to stay. I think the Ravens will win their division. I think the Texans will win theirs,
you don't think
and
the
I think
Colts will sneak up and take it? They are
I
3-2 right
don't.
now. You don't think they have it
Yeah,
into it?
I don't. So I think the Colts and the Bills will be a good wild card um, matchup towards the end of the season. But the AFC is kind of set in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, without injuries. If everybody will remain healthy for the rest of the season, I think it's pretty much going to stay the same. Now for the NFC, that's a different thing. The NFC West is stacked with the 49ers, Seahawks, and Rams.
Yeah.
I
And
honestly, the Rams being at 3-3, I still think that is anybody's division to win. The 49ers haven't played very much competition, but they still are 5-0. So that's you got to respect that. Russell Wilson is just putting on a show. I mean, I saw where they played last week, their game-winning drive. His mic went out, and he was just calling plays himself, leading them down to score the game-winning touchdown. So, I mean, it's hard to count Russell Wilson out. And then, of course, the Rams. There's too much talent on that team to count them out. So that I don't have a prediction. I'm going to say the Seahawks wind up winning the West.
okay.
I think I I think the Saints are going to win the South. The only team I see, you know, competing with them is the Panthers, but I think they'll get Drew Brees back and they'll still have a lead. And if they have a lead when Drew Brees comes back, then I mean, GG's in the chat.
Yeah, beating the Seahawks and the Cowboys were huge for
That
the
was
Saints.
huge. And the NFC East with the Cowboys, Eagles, that's just a cluster. I honestly think
No
it's
one's doing
anybody's.
good in
I
there.
don't. It does not
The
matter.
Redskins could
Uh,
come back.
honestly, you never know. The Cowboys got to have. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They got to find themselves. I think the Cowboys are the most talented team in that division, but it's
No,
please.
it's yeah.
Who cares? Now the NFC North is interesting. Reason being, because I want to talk about this after we get done talking about the standings, is the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers game last week.
Oh yeah.
Um, and the reason being is because the Green Bay Packers went to 5-1, and the Detroit Lions went to 2-1. If the Lions win that game, they go to 3-1-1 and are now the division leaders at this moment. So that literally went from them being in first place to dropping them to last place. And the Bears, Vikings, Packers, like that division's also stacked. So um, I'm gonna stick with the Packers at the moment.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is too good. He's got an offense with him now. Aaron Jones is showing up, and that defense is actually surprising. They're
Yeah.
they're kind of showing up a little bit. So I'll leave that be. I'll let Brody kind of
All
give
right.
his thoughts on that, but I do want to talk about that Green Bay Packers Detroit Lions game.
Yeah, we will talk about that. All right, Bertie, what's your take on all this?
All right, I'll start just like Jacob did with the AFC East. Um, I do believe New England's still a lock. I mean, chances are they're probably not going to lose a game. Looking
Okay.
at their schedule,
Yeah,
they're probably not losing the rest of the year. Um, AFC North. I mean, Baltimore should have that thing wrapped up,
yeah.
unless Baker Mayfield
Wins
uh,
it.
turns it on and he starts playing like he did last year.
hmm
Um, AFC South. I mean, I believe that Houston should win this division. The Colts are playing really good, too. I believe either of these teams could win it,
Okay,
but
yeah.
I'm picking the Texans.
Okay.
I'm with it. I think the second place in that division is going to be
The
the
Wild.
winner of the
Yeah.
wild card. Yeah, that's mine.
Well, yeah. We have a playoff section. We'll get into that. But yeah, we can talk about it. Okay, keep going, Brody.
In the AFC West, um, man, Kansas City should come out of there with that division.
Yeah.
The only thing that could slow them down, is if Patrick Mahomes is out for an extended period of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, so going into the NFC East, like you said, Dallas and Philadelphia are tied at 3-3. Um, I believe Dallas is going to win this division. They may not look that great right now. Just lost to the Jets. It's heartbreaking. But I believe that Dak Prescott and all those other guys on the offense and the defense as well are going to get in the gym and really try and start working on more coverages and play calls, get their minds right, and be ready for this weekend.
Okay.
Um,
Huge game.
Huge,
yeah.
huge one.
NFC North, you got Green Bay and Minnesota. I believe Green Bay comes out of that division. Minnesota's looked really good with Dalvin Cook, as you said earlier. Dalvin Cook's looked just incredible this year, but I think Green Bay is going to be too much for the Vikings, and Green Bay comes out of there with it. NFC South, you got New Orleans and Carolina. This is the one where I'm going to pick. I'm going to say Carolina comes out of there with the division.
Oh, hot take of the evening.
Oh my God, Brody, you just always got to pick the other team, man. He always wants to have an argument on here. Okay.
I got to pick something different, make it interesting.
Could have picked the
I like it.
Seahawks beating the 49ers.
I
That
like
would have been
it.
a lot different.
Taking
Now,
the rookie
both
Kyle Allen,
teams-
But
leading
all right,
them.
all right.
I like it.
Both teams do not have their starting quarterbacks in. So technically, we don't know what's going to happen.
Well,
Teddy's
you're right.
proven himself. Kyle Allen's proved himself as well.
Okay.
Can they keep it up through the back half of the season?
Right.
All right.
But
I like it. I mean, hey.
I'll give you my take.
and you've got two top running backs as well. McCaffrey, of course, having a better season than Alvin Kamara.
Right.
But I just believe Carolina can withhold the back half of the season and beat the Saints in that division.
Okay.
And then NFC West, that is a tough one. You've got San Francisco undefeated and Seattle at 5-1. Man, that is a tough one. But I looked at both their schedules, and they both have a pretty rough schedule going forward. They play twice.
Yeah.
That'll be
So
the
it's-
deciding factor.
That
Yeah.
That will be.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say whoever wins those games, maybe it'll probably be a 1-1. I bet. But if I had to have a definitive answer, I'm gonna take Seattle.
Okay. Russell Wilson, they're doing hot.
Yep. Yep. He's just looked unstoppable this year.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Garoppolo's played well as well. I mean, it's hard to pick between those two. They've looked great, but I think Russell Wilson's been so dominant this year that he can't be stopped, and he's gonna make the playoffs.
He's my. I don't know if you call him a dark horse, but for MVP, he's my pick at the moment.
Russell.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll get into my side. So for the AFC East, of course, Patriots are going to win out. I don't see Bills catching up. I see it being close. Bills probably going to make it a wild card. They just look good. I
Yeah.
think Ravens winning AFC North. I don't even think there's not a lot of talent, but Lamar Jackson is doing outstanding. I think he'll lead them to another division championship. I think the South. I actually am going to go with the Colts winning it all.
All
I
right.
just think Texans will find a way and lose. I think Deshaun Watson's been doing good, but I don't know the Colts right now with Brissett doing or Brissett. Kind of freaking weird because I'm used to thinking of the LSU running back Brissett, so it's like weird.
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna find a way and win it. But it will
Okay.
become close. That would be my hot take of the night. And the AFC West, I just see Chiefs winning it. I see Patrick Mahomes is good. Tyreek Hill is good. When they get Sammy Watkins back, he'll be good. They have a good running back. One from LSU, he's good. I
And
think,
LaShawn McCoy. Don't forget
yeah,
about Shady.
LaShawn McCoy, my bad. I did forget about Shady. Shady's good too. I think they'll pull out. Now the NFC, I think it's so hard to pick the East because I think Saturday or Sunday will tell between the Cowboys and Eagles.
Hmm.
That is just it's both teams don't have both teams have young quarterbacks. They have Cowboys has advantage with the better defense and better running game. But the way they've been playing these last three games, it's just hard to see if they're going to pull it through. But I guess time will tell. So I'm going to probably go with the Cowboys just because I think they have a little bit better defense than the Eagles.
Yeah.
Now for the North, I'm going to go with the Packers. I don't see Vikings. Vikings probably will make it to the wild card. I think they're no, they might not. It's Vikings gonna have a tough race because we'll get into the wild card, but I think Packers will win that. I'm gonna save the South for last, so I can get my take on that. But I'm gonna give the NFC West to. I'm gonna give it to the 49ers. I think Jimmy's is doing outstanding. I think they're gonna keep it up. I think they'll end up winning it. Russell does have an advantage. He's been in the league longer. He's experienced and he knows how to run that offense really good. I think Seahawks can pull it through. Now for the South, I'm going to go with the Saints, and I'm not trying to be biased, but I think at first whenever Drew Brees got hurt, I was sitting there like, no, they ain't going to do it. You got Teddy. Teddy used to be good. He got hurt. Now he's not where he was, because he hasn't played all that much. So I was not really worried. But then they go to Seattle, and they go play against the Seahawks. And granted, it was a little rainy day, but the Saints did pull it out with Teddy Bridgewater winning by 6 points. I think that was the huge, huge win for the Saints. Like that's just hard to do to go all the way to Seattle to play against Russell Wilson and Seahawks. And I think Saints winning that puts a really dominant in them. Well, their defense hasn't shown up as we've seen the beginning of the first three games. And then their defense shown up, and now they're, coming at it. And, I do agree. But the thing is, you also have Drew Brees going to come back here pretty soon. And as them winning those three games is kind of huge. When they go on, and right now they have to play the Bears. If they beat the Bears, if Teddy ended up beating the Bears, I think Saints are going to pull it off. I think Saints are really, salty about last year. I feel like they're gonna want to get back in there, and Sean Payton's a really good coach. I think he outcoaches the Panthers coach. Can't think of his name right now.
Wrong.
Yeah, I just I have the Saints winning it. Drew Brees comes back. I think I just think he pulls it through. And yeah, granted.
Fair.
So that's my hot take. I hate you, Brody. That's just how it is. You always got to pick the other team. Never the team I like. But anyways, so I want to get into the playoffs. I'm going to start who I think is going to be in the playoffs
Okay.
and everything. So I think the two teams, they're going to go to the playoffs that's not going to play in the wild card. I think it's going to be the Saints, and I think it's going to be Green Bay.
Okay.
I think them two are going to win. I also the other teams that are going to get in. I think the 49ers will get in. I think where am I? Okay, I think the whoa. Did I really put them in there? My notes are messed up. Okay, but I have the Packers, the Saints, the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Panthers, and then I have either I didn't say then, did I? I either have the Vikings going in or the Eagles. I think
Okay.
I don't think the Rams are going to make it. I just they have too much talent. They don't look as good as what you said. They have Jared Goff young. They have Todd Gurley young, who's good. You got Cooper Cup and Robert Woods, who I think arguably is the best duo receiver core. And it's just crazy how they're not like destroying But I don't know. Something could be going on. Coach is young too. For the AFC, I have the Patriots, I have the Texans, I have the Chiefs, the Ravens, Bills, and Colts making it to the playoffs. And I think Patriots and Chiefs are probably going to be not the wild card game. But that's my take
Hmm.
on it. I want to hear your take on it, Jacob.
Okay, so obviously, I think the Patriots are going to be the 1 seed. Um, and then you know, um, I'm gonna, it's tough. It's tough. I'm gonna say
Yeah, it's hard in week 7.
in week 7. Okay, so I'm gonna say the Patriots are the 1 seed, Chiefs are the 2 seed, and then I'll put the Texans as the 3 seed, and then Bills and the Colts um, as my wild card. Um, you know, I don't see a whole lot shifting. I mean, there's not a whole lot of teams out on the lower, like the Chargers. Unless the Chargers flip a switch now, I don't see them coming back. Chargers, Broncos, no. Jags, Titans, no. Um, Bengals, definitely no. Dolphins, definitely no. Jets, nah. So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty set. With the top seeded teams, it just depends on who's seated where. So the AFC, I feel like set in stone,
Yeah.
or just about. And then, excuse me, the NFC. Like I said, the East all comes down to Cowboys, Eagles. That's a huge game. I think that'll um, set the pace. So, but the difference between 1 through 3 is going to be tough. Um, Packers, Saints, Panthers, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to say, golly. Um, I'm going to say jeez, I don't know, man. I'm going to say the Packers. I'm going to say the Packers pull off the 1 seed out of the, uh, out of the East. And then I'm going to say, oh, man. I'm going to say the, golly. I'm going to say the Seahawks pull off 2nd seed with Saints being 3. And then I'm going to have 49ers and the Cowboys as my wild card teams.
Okay.
The NFC honestly is tough. I don't know. That's just as of right now. Because I mean the Rams could easily sneak in. Panthers, you
Bears
know,
could too. They could.
Bears, Vikings. I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough. So that's just based on what I've seen so far. Um, Packers, Seahawks, 1 and 2. Saints, especially getting Drew Brees back, 3. 49ers, definitely playoff, even Super Bowl contender with the way they're playing right now. So that's what I'd have to go with.
All right. I like that. Brody, what about you? What you feeling?
So AFC pretty set in stone, as Jacob said. New England should get the 1. Um, man, I don't think I don't think Kansas City, Houston, or Baltimore are gonna move. The only 2 teams that I see that could move are Buffalo and Oakland.
Hmm.
Okay.
Buffalo could start to struggle. I could see that happening. Even more with Josh Allen somehow. Josh Allen just does even worse in custom games.
Yeah. Okay.
And Oakland is kind of touchy. You never know what they're gonna do.
No, they have a
They
good
had a
they have a good guy. We also forgot to say that I just thought of about Mike Williams for Oakland Raiders has not been
It's
doing
their
bad either.
rookie, Josh Jacobs. He's been doing
Yeah,
good.
Josh Jacobs. Yeah, we forgot about them. But okay, keep going, bro. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
so the only other team left is the Colts. I'm gonna say that 1 through 5 stay the same, and Oakland drops out, and the Colts move up,
Okay.
climbing that last spot.
Okay.
Okay.
So for the NFC,
Okay.
I believe, man, this is tough. I think Dallas is gonna take Philadelphia's spot at 4. I'll get that out of the way right now. Philadelphia is gonna take or Dallas is gonna take Philadelphia's spot at 4, and I'm gonna also say, man,
Like
What did you say?
huh?
Jacobs, Mike. But anyways, so
Oh, so Dallas is gonna take Philadelphia's spot at 4. I think that from what I said earlier, Seattle's gonna beat San Francisco, but
but
I don't see San Francisco completely out of the playoffs.
yeah.
But Seattle's not going to be the 1 seed. I think that Green Bay will be the 1 seed as well. They've looked great. They played great. Um, so that would put San Francisco as a wild card team, right?
Yeah, you would have him as a wild card, not winning the division.
So my other wild card team will be the Saints,
Jeez, man. Come on, guys. I don't watch
and
football.
and
Jeez.
Carolina will be the other playoff team. So I'll have Seattle, Green Bay, Dallas, and Carolina. And then in the wild card, you'll have San Francisco and the Saints.
The flip. Okay, Brody. Flip them real quick. It's four. It's like what? How many teams are in the wild card? It's like four, isn't it? Yeah, it's four teams in the wild card, two in the. It's 1 and 2 seed. Then you have the four wild cards.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're
Yeah,
fine. I
that's
looked
what
it
I
up
meant.
too. I forgot it too. Yeah. Yeah, we got what you were saying. All right. So y'all got anything else to add? You want to talk about a game?
I definitely want to talk about that Lions Packers game.
All right. What do we want to talk about?
Um,
I want
just
to hear your take on it.
so this may be a smidge of a bias, just because the dude who got called for those penalties that basically gave the Packers the drive, 2 drives to come back and win the game, which they should not have played at Arkansas, and that'd be Trey Flowers. But um, when I was watching, I didn't get to watch the actual game, so I went back and watched the highlights, and then I see on YouTube, whenever I was just scrolling through, the first thing that I popped up was like controversial calls, reasons Packers won the game, refs handed the Packers to the game. You won't believe what happened. So I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And literally, the penalties that were called were just atrocious. They were so bad. Uh, they were the legal hands to face.
I think there's
Both
two of them.
penalties.
Yeah.
Both. Yes. Both.
That was bull.
And it was
That was
just
bullshit, dude.
It was shoulder. It was literally right on the shoulder pads, like not even near the face. Bacardi or Bacardi. It's not Bacardi. Here I can't. It's the Packers stud left tackle
Yeah.
was getting worked, and one of them was 3rd and 10, and it should have been a sack to put them out of field goal range, and they would have had to have punt the ball, and this was when it was 22-13. But that extends the drive. They go down and score, so it's 22-20. And then the next penalty was called when it was 3rd and 6, and it gave them a first down, and all that they had to do, the Lions were out of timeouts. All that they had to do was run down the clock and kick a field goal to win the game as time expired, and that's exactly what happened. And that's why it was such a big deal, because like literally that was the difference between first and last place
Oh
for
yeah.
the Lions. They went from, if they would have won, which they should have, being in first place to in last place, and
Yeah.
it just overcalls. Like it, I don't think everything should be reviewable, because I still think there needs to be a human aspect to the game. But when it comes down to plays like that, I think you should be able, like the booth should be able to buzz down to like the refs and be like, "Hey, my guy, that's a no-no. Like you just blew that call. Like that's horrible. You can't. Like no."
Yeah, that was a
Um,
bad call. Guys, if you haven't
that's
seen it, just go look it up. I promise you, you'd be mad.
yeah.
You'd be like,
I'd
that's
be
so much
screaming.
bullshit.
Hello?
I'd be screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's up, Brody? But yeah, that stuff's messed up. I agree.
yeah.
That was. I think. Honestly, I think Lions could have won the game.
Should have. They should
You
have won
know,
the game.
it's messed up, but refs do make mistakes.
Saints Rams.
Yeah, that was a big one. That was a big controversy. What's funny was both teams in Louisiana changed, like LSU changed something in college and Saints changed something in NFL. LSU and Alabama actually changed the playoffs because you remember 2012 or somewhere around that area, 2011, 2012. LSU and Bama play, and LSU beats Bama, and they go all the way, and they put Bama as number 2, and it was LSU versus Bama again in the national championship. But Oklahoma State was actually supposed to be number 2 because
Yep.
they only lost one game, and so that was the biggest controversial. And the year right after, they were like, "Oh, we need to do the playoffs. That way, it's not like that." And then that's
Yeah.
when Ohio State wins it all. And then the Saints actually gets that bad call, and now you can review pass interference.
Yeah.
So maybe
And which,
it's crazy.
like, the big thing about that is they're, like, you would think the pass interference calls. I'll look up this stat to be just 100% correct on this, but
A lot of them
going
got
back to the pass
overturned?
interference, it's almost 50%. Of pass interference calls have been overturned, have been changed. Either it was thrown and then they overturned it to where it wasn't pass interference, or vice versa.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
like,
I mean, you
that
gotta
is
give
every
it.
other pass interference call is wrong.
I mean, you gotta
I mean-
give it. If it's close, I mean, it's so hard to tell from an umpire, or not an umpire, a referee. It's kind of
Right.
hard because if it's close. But like, obviously, the Saints and Rams, like that was blatant, and that's when, like, okay. But yeah, I understand 50% getting overturned. Like, these refs need to like chill out a little bit. Then I don't know.
I agree.
They need to let them
I
play
mean-
football.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. But all
I'll
right.
look for this, Brody. You have anything to
Brody, you
add
got
while I
anything
look
to
for this?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
That game was crazy, I will say that.
Yeah, it was
can't
about,
believe
hey
they did
Brody, it was
fake
about as
flowers like
crazy
that.
as your it was as crazy as you saying the Saints are gonna be winning.
We'll see.
But hey, it's all right, dude. Everyone has their opinions. Some of us have smart ones, like me and Jacob. Some of us have dumb ones. I'm just kidding. Jacob did the same thing. So
Okay.
some of us watch football.
49.6%
49.6.
have been overturned.
Jeez.
Yep, have been
Y'all
overturned.
gotta that has got to get fixed, man.
That's a little. I mean, if like 25%, so like 1 in 4 were overturned, I'd be okay with that, because you're like 1 in 4 pass interference calls. They're probably close. It's probably some tugging and pulling, and it could go either way. So like that'd be cool. But every other one, that's a little bit ridiculous, and that has to make Saints fans their blood boil even more, because cool, they can review it now.
Oh yeah, but they couldn't do it last
They
game.
couldn't do it back. They couldn't do it back when it mattered. So
Yeah, well, that's what like I don't know. That's why I think Saints right now are like bulled up and they want to come out. But yeah, it's funny because like the first game, of the season, the head director of the referees, whatever, told the guys, he's like, "Hey man, don't screw this up." They're salty. There's a lot of fans coming in, like referee uniforms to the game. They had that big protest, and I was like, "Dang." But
Well, it obviously didn't work because they had that one
yeah.
when they played the. Who was it? Was it the
The
Panthers? I can't remember who they played.
No,
The 80-yard fumble recovery.
It was the Eagles.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure it was the Eagles. I don't think we haven't played the Panthers yet.
Whoever they played.
Pretty sure it was the Eagles. But yeah,
literally,
that was
80-yard
so
fumble recovery got called back because they blew the whistle.
Yeah, you gotta let it play out. You
oh.
just gotta let it play out and then blow the whistle.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's all the time we got here. Guys, y'all want to add anything real quick?
No, man. That's said pretty much everything I want to say. Besides, I love you, Brody.
Okay, Brody, he loves you.
Love you too.
Okay.
That's it.
Hey, you know what? Okay, here we go. Okay, guys. Well, thank y'all for listening in. I hope y'all enjoyed this. If you did, please subscribe and hit the bell notification. That way you're notified when we post. Also, leave a comment on what you think of our opinions. Give us your opinions because I'm really interested, and I know these guys are too. And you know, you can also give us topics that we can talk about. You know, maybe you want to know our takes on a certain game or a certain player. We can add it in. Also, you know, make sure y'all go follow our Twitter. It's in the profile. It's at. I know what I forgot that, but it's all right.
JBC Open Mic.
JBC Open Mic. Go follow that. You see our live tweets when we tweet and everything. We're thinking about doing some Twitch, you know, podcasts. If you'd be interested, let us know. We might stream and have y'all interact with us. That's up to you guys. But if you enjoy this video, please give it a like. Until next time, see ya.
See ya.